Welcome to Sister Sesh, the podcast where two stoner sisters, Alicia and Kat, guide you through the highs and lows of life, relationships, and sisterhood. Grab your joint, settle onto the couch, and join these two hilarious sisters as they share their unique experiences and laughter-inducing perspectives on a variety of topics. Get ready to light up and let the Sister Sesh begin. In today's episode, we'll cover Kat's experience juggling her roles as a wife, mother, and professional, and how she turns to weed to cope with mental illness and anxiety.
Hey guys, welcome to the sesh. It's Kat here. I'm running solo today. Alicia's out sick. She lived her best life. She took her girlfriend on a wonderful week of outings and dates and just navigating that part of her relationship. And I'm just really happy for her. But now she's sick as a dog, can't talk and lost her voice. So welcome to the sesh as I dive into just telling you what's up with me and my life and everything else in general. For those of you who follow me for a very long time, I started this podcast to kind of give myself something to look forward to wake up to keep myself accountable for. As I documented all over my social media, that I came out of the worst depression of my life. I really got to a point in my life where I could not function. And a lot of the things that I dealt with in childhood, a lot of things that I've dealt with in general, and traumas that I've put in the past and kind of just compartmentalized in my own way, came to the surface. Realistically, you don't know really how damaged you are as a person, or how good you had it until you have children. They are like a mirror into your childhood. They're a mirror into who you are as a person. And you really kind of deep dive into your own like mental dilemma of who you are. And you put that check when you have children. And that really came to fruition for me. I really was able to just navigate that. And becoming a parent was like the weirdest and most challenging and beautiful experience for me. And like I've shared, I got out of a very abusive relationship, and it was very toxic, my first marriage. And I really don't talk about it very much. I keep it very to myself, and I hope that through the process of this episode and many other episodes that I kind of bring that awareness. Being married to a narcissist really makes you question who you are. It makes you operate in a relationship differently. It makes you inhabit those toxic cycles and traits and bring them into other aspects of your lives and other relationships. And so the pattern of that give and hug and flow of I want you, but I don't want you. I want you at arm's distance. I want you because nobody can have you. That needing and excessiveness has now, the way they rejected me in that process, I now treat my partner. And that's something that's not fair to my partner. And that's something we have open, deliberate conversations about. But I've really got to a place where the depression kicked in. I really didn't want to do anything, and I really had to admit to my family, like, hey, we need to do something now, or I'm not gonna be here anymore. I really, really considered, like, truly, I had contemplated suicide. I had had attempts in the past, but this was like one of those, like, I had no fear about it this time. I had justified it to myself and to the world that my kids and my family and my friends would be better off without me. And I've struggled with my mental health for as long as I can remember. And I'm really getting into those nitty gritties of learning who I truly am and unlearning unhealthy patterns. But through the gist of it all, I've been pulled in so many directions. Um, I brought to this podcast and I hit the ground rolling, and you guys have just really been on the roll with Alicia and I. I am a content creator and I have been since like 2012. And I really been just hitting the ball rolling. I went dark for a couple of years. I call them my lost years. The internet just didn't know where I was and what I was up to. And um, in that process, I came back and I documented that depression, and I documented everything, and it's just been a whirlwind. You guys have been on this little journey, and my sister's not like a cozy, comfy girly that just wants to sit up on the couch and talk about love and relationships and all the things that we dive into on the pod. But she's really put her first foot forward. She's really put herself out there. She's come out and discovered her sexuality in the course of the conversations. If you've been with us, been from the jump, and we have got picked up from podcasting network, which was amazing and shocking all in itself. And we've been so grateful for the reach and, just being able to get up every Wednesday and get lit, just sit up on the couch, talk to you guys, let you know about, our different perspectives and things and how we just like navigate the world. But we just have a little bit of Mary Jane on the side. And cannabis has really been an integrated kind of center point in those communications with my sister and I. It was like once we found that like common ground, if you may, um, things just became easier. So when we thought about this podcast, it was like, what's the one fucking thing that I do on a normal day? I get high. I get high. But I get high for different reasons. Well, mostly it is to manage my PTSD and certain aspects of, my anxiety. I have a huge social anxiety, um, but at the same time, if you knew me in my real life, I'm very bubbly. I'm very like la la la. But when in my private, in my private life, between the people who really really deeply know me, I can't think for myself. I get really stuck in because I can't think for myself. My mind goes blank. I kind of don't like to be in a room with a lot of people. So I feel like, oh, well, if you can't be in them, join them. I'm going to act all bubbly, but the whole time I'm utterly uncomfortable. I want to leave. I get irritated easily. I snap at people. I start to talk shit underneath my breath, like ones do. But those are all signs of me being anxious. I just don't want to be in a room with people. But I crave human interaction. Like I want to know anything and everything about you. And that's the one thing I think I thrived on, inviting my guests on here and really being able to just kind of see everything. And that was hard in itself too, because I started this project. I was just part of a content creator community. I got my name out there, and I really have been a vital part of that community. Um, to this point, I met and connected with so many wonderful people. To a point where it's like, why did I start this to begin with? I can't keep it up. And that's really where I got to a place where I was like, I can keep this up if I just invite more people on here. So I hit them up. I used that community. I was like, hey guys, you want to be? And I've been able to have wonderful, meaningful conversations, um, and just be like, they were the supporters from the pod to begin with. Every week I'd post and be like, hey, there's a new episode out, just maybe if you have spare time. And it just got to, hey, we like the episode. Oh my God, I can't wait for next week's. And we grew and grew to the numbers that we are now. We're a legitimate podcast. We took a hiatus from season one for those past couple of weeks. Um, Not because it just, we needed a season finale. I needed to recuperate and recharge and rebattery me. I took on too many projects. I got a full time job. I moved. I did kicked out at that job so much that I'm moving up into management. I got kids that are small and that go to and fro. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a businesswoman on the side in the late night hours. I have a podcast, 30 Days of Podcasting course that I put in the midnight hours to just like help everybody because I really was tired of scrolling through the internet to find the information. And when I finally got, to do a podcast and get it all together, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this here. If someone buys it, it's great. And they don't, no hard feelings to me. but I put everything that I found all in one shot, and this is how I was able to grow it to the magnitude that it is. I guest host, I guest star on a lot of other podcasts. So for me, it's like, oh my God, I've got to make sure that I do a lot of podcast swaps. My greatest content strategy I can ever give out, I'm giving this out for free. I use collaborations. Collaborations are the one and major thing from the jump. I have been able to just be that micro influencer, that micro creator. And it's been great. I've collaborated with a lot of other creators and my guests in the beginning that have had higher and lower followings than I have. And I just like to see them grow and get to know them and just see what they're all about, because their wins are my wins were theirs. And it was just a wonderful and amazing experience for those couple of months. Things have fizzled down, life kicks in, and then we get back to let's get rolling. So I really have had to put my mental health on the back burner and not be able to just do all the things I want to. So having these last couple weeks, not sitting down and recording, had felt weird. It was part of my daily routine. I looked forward to that once a week. We sit down and record. We get together. But I really needed to refresh and recuperate, spend some time with my family, figure out a schedule, figure out, was I going to take this promotion or not? How is this going to affect my life? I even told my boss, I was like, if I take this promotion, my personal life is going to blow the fuck up. Because I've always felt, as a woman, you can't have both. And it sucks because I see women that have both. But something's always going wrong behind closed doors. That's what I assume. You either have you either want to be home baking cookies, being a mom, raising your kids, which is great and wonderful and beautiful, or you just want to be this fucking big ass baddie queen that you know you are, and then you don't need nobody and be Miss Independent. So I'm a little bit of both, and I get conflicted because I am very ambitious, and if I want something, I'm going to go for it. If I want to get to that point, I'm just going to be like, I'm going to do what I got to do to get there. I'm going to work my way up to the top. And I have, and I've shown that I have, and even though this is a fast food job, you got to start somewhere. I have not questioned myself so much these last couple weeks professionally, because it's like I work with a lot of teenagers, like a lot of youngsters. 27 years old. I feel like I'm 45. I feel like life hasn't really. I haven't really lived life per se. I feel like I want to accomplish all these things and then I can live life. But then I probably will feel like forever I'm going to be that person that just never gets to live their life. Well, if I do this, then I can do this. And if I get to this point of success, then we can do. But I really just need to find something for me that's sustainable. And so I really want to challenge myself in a way. Can I be a leader? Can I be in a leadership role? What kind of boss do I eventually want to be? I would love to grow my side hustle, my podcasting business. I would like to get there, but I don't know how I am going to lead a team if I can't even start in a smaller setting. So being a manager and getting this promotion for me, it's to me it's insignificant in a way, and me in one way it's significant. So I'll break that down for you. The insignificance is whatever. It doesn't pay that much. It's a fast food job. What I'm gonna glorify that on my grave. The significance part is, yeah, this is something you want. This is something you want to challenge yourself. You, you got to do this for you, and it's okay that you fail because we're looking forward to failing at every turn because every failure is a learning point. You don't get successful without failing. And this is coming from someone whose biggest biggest fucking fear in the world is failure. I literally have given up opportunities, and I have literally given up on relationships, people's, like, material items, because I'm like, fuck it, it's gonna fail. Fuck, it's gonna fail. I am a failure because I am a perfectionist at heart. Nothing is good enough. And that sucks to be that kind of person who knows that you're that self aware. I even had someone at work tell me, they're like, "Oh, you know what, Kat? I'm so happy and glad. Like, you're just so self aware. I wish I could be that way." And I was like, "Fuck no." The greatest part about being self aware is that you know yourself in a different way. The shitty part about being self aware is you still make stupid, fucked up decisions, knowing that you're going to make stupid, fucked up decisions and bitch and complain about the consequences. Knowing. So that's the worst part about being self aware. And in that process, you tend to just kind of question a lot of things. So, juggling my mental health, juggling this, new professional um, curve, it put us a lot of stress and strain on you and what you want to do. And so for me, I just really try to implement a lot of other things. And that way I can kind of fulfill my life more with the things that I want. And how am I going to do that? I really got to come up with a plan. So I took the time off. I was like, hey, let's not let's not record the pod. Let's just kind of take a pat back. Um, and it came with a lot of things. My sister had a concern. Why are we stopping? We're at a good momentum. The podcast isn't taking off the way we need to. And it got to a point where it's like, well, yeah, but I'm not good. And she's like, well, you need to relinquish something, because on the back end, I do a lot of it. On the back end, the social media posts, the things, meeting with the network, delegating, recording, editing. Because for me, the recording process isn't the fun part. The editing is my jam and bread. Like my like, it's like PB&J sandwich for me. I love it. It's the greatest part of it because I feel like my creative process comes out and I'm able to kind of like show who I am and everything else, and just figure out like where things go. And just I don't know, I feel like that's more where I thrive creatively. So I've had to learn to divvy up those things, kind of empty my cup, if you will. And I'll circle back to what that means later on. But I really just had to put that part of me into perspective. Like, am I going to make it mentally? Like, am I going to drain myself out? Am I going to just get to a place where I really can't handle anything anymore? So I set out to make it. I set out to tell myself, hey, you need to pick yourself up. You need to dust yourself off. It's not that bad. And for a lot of people, the catalyst, some people could stub their toe in 1968 and still be pissed off about it. And I'm that person. I had to come to realize that I am that person. I dwell on the past. I live in my own version of events, and I replay it obsessively and compulsively in my head, to a point where now it's like, why can't I be present? Why can't I just focus on the things it was? And through trauma therapy, I truly learned like how to ground myself, how to be present. And I found myself recently just falling back into those patterns of, I'd rather be at work and I'll pick up every shift and I'll become this workaholic because I don't want to deal with my mental health and the things that are happening in my home, just day to day life, raising children. And those days can be dulling. And for any parent that's like, oh, how dare you? How dare you talk about your kids like that? No, I will literally die for them. I will lay down my life for my children. I would probably serve a fucking life prison term to protect one of them. I will commit felonies. um, that's not the point. You come first too at some point. Just because you have children don't doesn't mean you lose who you are. It doesn't mean you have to give up parts of who you are. And I instantly always thought that. So for me, it was about finding the balances, finding the little nuances, and being a mom. Yeah, I'm a mom. I think I'm a kick-ass mom, but that's just me being biased. Every woman feels like a kick-ass mom once in a while, and if you don't, you should. Um, you become Wonder Woman. You become to do it all: the house, the dishes, the laundry, everything just seems to pile up, and then the issues, the bills come, things come in late, you're short on some bills, you're pushing money here and there, and you're trying to just make ends meet. You're picking up extra hours, you're just doing all the things you need to do, and in the process you feel like a shitty parent and a shitty mom because you're not home and you're not present in the time. I have had days where I literally have spent 1 hour with my children for the whole day. I come home and I don't even spend that much time with my spouse. It's like, all right, time to go to bed. We'll watch one episode of TV. Let's go to bed, eat, all that, lay down, and start all over again. And that is the mundane thing of life. Those are the mundane things that go. But it catches up to you mentally. Like that load of that mundaneness that you go through, you get up, you get dressed, you go to work, you come home, you make dinner, you cook, you clean, you get everyone bathed, showered, and off to bed. And that routine, day in, day out, day in and day out, that becomes the most taxing and mentally exhausting thing. And for me, it was like, well, I want to move up in the world. I want this promotion and I'm going to work towards this promotion. And I initially declined because I was like, well, I've had previouses in my life where I did put my professional life before my family life, and I didn't know how to balance. And it got to a point where I wasn't present and I wasn't the kind of person I wanted to be. And that's the root of that depression. It was the kind of the catalyst for me, and being stuck on the couch and out of a job, and just I just had a baby, and I jumped right back to the workforce where I was mentally prepared, because one thing I'll tell you is depression comes in strides. It comes in times where you feel that you need to be the most happiest. My pregnancy was supposed to be the most happiest and most wonderful thing for me. And it had its moments. But through it, I felt so utterly scared, lonely, and confused. When I found out I was pregnant, I was like, what the fuck? I felt like I was a stupid teenager. Oh my god, I'm pretty. What am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? Oh my god. I'm a grown ass woman. I was 25. Get over it. You're gonna have a baby. But I realized that I finally got my own place for the first time with my husband, and it was just like I was running my own pad and didn't have no roommates. I didn't have to sleep somewhere wonky and quonky. Like this was our pad, and we brought our kids home. We brought my mom here. We just had this. We have this beautiful, wonderful life, but the mundane ins and outs of this beautiful, wonderful life is mentally taxing and drawing. To that regard, it's like my cup is too full. So, back to the cup thing. When I was in therapy, and I used to go to weekly therapy, and I would sit around with a lot of other women that felt this way and went through similar things. The facilitating therapist always had this thing called the one cup theory. So, you can only fill your cup up to what you can and be accountable for the things that you fill your cup up with. So when it first and be the little things, mundane things to your life when you're in a depression, you're struggling with anxiety and all those, um, is that you can't manage those little mundane tasks. It feels like your cup is too full. It's so overwhelming. So we would have to list three things throughout the session, all of us, of how we filled our cup. So I was like, oh, it'd be stupid. I showed up for therapy today. I took a shower. Um, I wrote in my journal, kind of thing. So the more you can balance those three tasks, then you can add more things to your cup. The point is to keep your cup balanced and where you can manage the mundane things and the big things, right? The big overwhelming things. Um, so there was that and building that up. But you're not supposed to overflow your cup. That means you're taking on too many tasks, and that's not a good thing either. It's the balance, the ebbs and the flows of it all. So I always stuck with me, and it was really great to be able to put that in perspective. And right now, I overflowed my cup. I've taken on too many things. I grew the podcast and hit it running. I got a 9 to 5 job. I'm not saying that that can't be done because it is getting done. We are here. Um, Being a wife and navigating a different season in my relationship, um, we've reached a pinnacle point in our relationship where it's like, yeah, we're married. We're married and we want this marriage to have some longevity. We want this marriage to last. And in the way we communicate, in the way we're operating now in our marriage, is not going to lead us in a direction in which we want to go. So now we're going to change those things. And we're going to try to figure out how to navigate that new space that we're in. And if you don't really check into your relationships like they are seasons, you're missing out on actually fixing the key critical things and that will eventually be catalysts for you in the future that will end your relationship. My husband and I have really learned we need to have check-ins. We check in with each other. It may not come like, oh, once a week we're going to check in and we're going to do that, but we do. I like to know where I stand with someone, and especially in a relationship. And I also have had to learn not to hide those things. I have to be more forthcoming in my communication. I need to be more forthcoming in just in general. And I also have to learn to shut my mouth and let the other person talk. I'm always the person that has to have the last word. I always have to have the last jab, the nig. I am the nitpicker. I will find something. There are days where I just want to fight with you. And he's like, I don't want to fight with you. Get away from me. Get away from me. Um, so we're learning to navigate our communication in a different way. So there's that. There's the podcast, which is great and amazing. And I love you guys for being on this wild, crazy journey with us and being able to kind of showcase my relationship with her and everything. Alicia and I have grown so much in this process of our sisterhood and, just having a better understanding from each other. Like we stated from our very first episode, we are an 8-year age gap. So I will be, Alicia turns 20 this August. I will be 28 and she's just beginning her 20s, and I'm like right down the yellow brick road to my 30s. And for me, I always thought you're an old maid once you hit 30. I've always thought that when I was little, and so I'm like, look, I'm getting old. But I'm actually excited for my 30s. I'm actually excited to learn those new seasons. My kids will be older. They'll get to go and do things. My relationships will change. Um, who I am as a person is definitely going to change. Um, but I need to learn to navigate that as well. So being a mom, on top of it, I also have one kid that goes back and forth. Um, and in that process, nobody really talks about like you being a step parent. Fuck, you get your feelings hurt a lot, and you I don't know. For me, there have been instances in my co-parenting where I do get it. I get my feelings hurt. I get my feelings hurt because I feel like I've given all that I can and all the love that I could as a parent to my child, um, and in the end, I may not agree with the other parent. And that's okay that I don't have to agree with the other parent, but I do have to learn to have those conversations in a better manner. And I'm working on it. I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm just working on it. I'm getting there, I'm figuring it out. So, having all of my triggers all in one spot, you know, and me falling back into those patterns of like, all right, I'd rather be at work than be at home. I would rather, stay up making dumb YouTube thumbnails for 3 hours straight because I'm high as a kite and I feel inspired, instead of taking that time to be attentive and spending quality time with my spouse, or taking that time to be like, hey, I'm only going to give myself 45 minutes for this project, and then I'm going to put it down and come back to it another day because I need to spend time with my children because that's what I told them I was going to do and to be accountable to my word. Um, so a lot of it in my life is like I expect people to be accountable for their actions, but I'm not accountable for mine, and I turn and switch script for everybody. So for me, in this season of reaching that yellow brick road to my 30s, I'm hoping that the last couple of years of my 20s, I'm really going to learn to navigate, holding myself accountable to the people in my life. And I love that I have a lot of people in my life that I'm like, yeah, call me out on my shit. Call me out on my shit, right? I think my shit don't stink. You need to call me out on my shit and we'll figure it out from there. So it's just going to get to a place where I know I can navigate those avenues. But I've been struggling in it lately. I've put on too many things in my cup, right? I got myself a job. That was great. I built the podcast to, where I feel comfortable where it needs to be to keep the growth that we're at. I put that in my cup. All right. I'm taking on co-parenting decisions. I decided this week I was going to pay all the bills. I decided I was going to do all of this week. Oh, I picked up 3 extra shifts this week on the timeline of everything else I have to do. So I fell back into that depression, the loop. When I don't want to deal with my depression, I become a workaholic. And so it got to me where now I'm like, all right, put the brakes. I really need to go back to the basics. I really need to go back to this. How did this all start? This podcast started with me sitting on a couch on a FaceTime, high as a kite with my sister, talking about our life, doing what we wanted to do, coming up with the idea, and we just knocked it out that afternoon. Our first episodes, we don't know what we're doing. We're figuring it out as we go. We're figuring out our sisterhood. We're figuring out things. So I really needed to get back to that. But I didn't feel inspired. I didn't want to come, to you guys and just like feel so fake and phony because it's really, we wanted to put out our authentic self. And so I really needed that hiatus. I really needed to put myself in a place where I was like, all right, I'm cool. I feel good. You can burn yourself out as a content creator. You can burn yourself out as just a normal person doing the mundane things, getting up, go to work, brush your teeth, da da da, like, go to the gym, come home, make dinner, go to bed, all of that gets taxing after a while. So I took on too many projects. I took on too many things that made me uninspired to continue to do the things that I needed to get done. So now I've learned to kind of navigate. I'm trying. I'm not there. I'm trying to come up with a game plan to just be there and exist and figure out me, um, as I manage everything. And I would tell you, sparking from a fucking joint, getting fucking lit on a Tuesday afternoon, that's what I need. I need that day off where I have my one day off, good day off a week. I know it's set in stone every week. I got a Tuesday off and I'm going to be stoned. and I'm gonna have the munchies, and I'm gonna probably fucking play the music and clean my house and just meet up with my sister and just talk about stupid shit and get fucking lit and just connect with you guys. It's really what it was. Is I wanted this connection. I wanted that deep thing, but I wanted it in what felt comfortable. A sesh. Like nothing I feel I like I've been able to break a lot of barriers down with my anxiety. Like I smoke before I go anywhere. I sometimes bring a fucking pre-roll with me. I have my little live resin pen, and I just kind of just smoke it as I go. I'm not saying I'm high all the time or all the things. I do take cannabis breaks because I know that I have to have a healthy relationship with weed, and I use weed as a coping and in dealing with the certain symptoms and aspects of my mental illness. I do experience sometimes extreme flashbacks and like to a place where I don't know where I am. I'm very delusional. It takes me a minute to like feel associated with reality and in touch with reality. Like, am I here? And those kind of things. So I've been working through that, but knowing that, I have to have a healthy relationship with weed. And it's taken me a while to have a healthy relationship with weed. Like, there's been times where I would go to the clinic, pick up 3 freaking ounces, and smoke it in a day. Like, well, maybe like 2 days. It'd be gone in like 2, 3 days. That wasn't a healthy relationship with weed. It was just me like using it as a coping mechanism, as a masking technique for what was really going on. And so there were years where I was like not smoking. I was straight sober. And I was like, all right, I need to get my life together. I need to figure out this. And then, through the course of my divorce, I went back to therapy. I got a full actual diagnosis that made sense, that really get to the nitty gritty of it. I actually deep dive on it on the Undiagnosed podcast with Hillary England, and I've had Hillary on for a lot of things, and we really deep dive into my mental health and my journey and all that. So you guys can check that out. I'll link it down below. Um, that was a little like side bubble for me. So back to what I was saying is I had to have those years of being sober, and I had the therapist and a psychologist, and she's like, well, how do you feel about weed? And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah, how do you feel about cannabis? The laws are changing. I can get you a recommendation. Like, I really think that this would help with some of the symptoms of your mental illness. We've tried, on antipsychotics, antidepressants, and just, something's not working. And I was like, do you know, like, I just got sober from, taking a lot of hard drugs, and like I got my life together. I'm not doing ecstasy. I'm not fucking smoking coke. Like, I'm good. I'm sober. Why would you want to give me weed? She's like, no, just try it. There's no hard feelings. And it really just became the like, oh, I could smoke and I can like have my sesh and I can move on, and not abuse it. And so then like I worked with my therapist to have that healthy relationship with weed, where I can notice and recognize the patterns within myself. Because back to being the self-aware fuck that I am, um, you recognize those patterns, you choose to ignore them, and then you bitch about it later, right? That's my version of being self-aware. So that's what happens to me. So that's really what it comes down to, is learning those patterns in which I don't have a healthy relationship with weed. Right now, her and I, me and Mary Jane, we kicking it hard, we kicking it good. This has been a very loving and deep sesh. And I just hope that you guys walk away with the knowing that, like, even though I feel overwhelmed, even though I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders and nothing's gonna get solved, and I'm just gonna be like, I go 2 steps forward to get 10 steps backwards, I know in the long term, something fucking great is gonna come from this. And if you're struggling with the balance of like life relationships, personal life, all the shit that you got going on that just feels like it's piling up on you, you're not alone. Homegirls, homeboys, you ain't alone. Like, we all feel it from time to time. We just don't all talk about it. And I really think that you take away from this episode is it's okay not to be okay. Um, that you can just kind of let it out. Find that one person that you feel that you can just kind of let it be and let it out and go. Um, Even if you don't have therapists like I am, and then figure it you and know that even though it's overwhelming, something great is going to come from it. And recognize that when you can just sit down, have that thing. I have sessions where I'll smoke and sit here and I'll talk to myself. Not a lot of people have an inner monologue, but I do, and that bitch is ruthless. So I have to really hype myself up. Like, the conversation I have with myself is I'm the little wimp bitching and complaining, and in my inner monologue, this bitch is a bad bitch. She's like, "What the fuck you crying for?" I'm like, "You stupid." And over, it just didn't work out the way I wanted it to, and she's like, "It just doesn't work out that way." So really, just take the time when you get to those moments where you feel like you're pulled in many different directions. Take that solace for you. That's the world telling you, like, hey, you do everything for everybody else, but what about you? It's okay to be a little bit selfish. And self-care is not just going to get your nails done, going to get your hair done, getting new clothes, do your skincare routine. Like, self-care is finding that one thing that nobody can do or take away from you. And I found those things: weed and podcasting. And I've learned to be able to put those things in two and two together, and I've been able to really thrive. And when those things become my joys, the things that ground me become overwhelming, then that's my way. That should be your way to be like, hey, back the fuck up, take the moment, take it in, celebrate the wins, let's come back to the center. Because when the things that you find your outlets, your hobbies, the things that help you cut loose from having that weight of the world on your shoulders, is completely the universe telling you, like, hey, you need to reevaluate things. If those don't find you joy anyway, you need to reevaluate where you are and what you want to do and how you're going to go about it. So I just really enjoyed this session. I know I got really deep, guys, and everything, but it's just me navigating life, relationships, and everything else. Don't forget to come back for more. And we're really grateful for you guys. And if you want any more sessions like this, where Lisa and I have to take a solo episode, get really deep and personal, and laugh and be stupid, that then let us know. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Sister Sesh Podcast, where you'll be updated on everything new and improved. We're working on getting a lot of fun guests and just kind of navigating that part of our podcasting journey. And thank you guys for following along. So that is the end of this week's sesh.